Hey, Kelly.
Which means this was a new rental that was sent out, and we've already received some purchase paperwork for it. That's a really good thing. If we hadn't received any purchase paperwork for this one yet,
There we go.
rental new for funding rental fee. So from the moment you log in, the summary
Hey, can you hear me?
tells you a little bit
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I've got two webinars going on at the same time. I'm here for you, though.
Okay.
Wow.
What do you got? You have a Satilla one going?
Yeah, I'm listening. I have to listen to a Satilla one. It's actually a good one.
Oh,
It's all right.
is it being recorded?
It should be. It should be. So I can watch the last half hour of it. I've been in for Yeah, we may have nobody, Kelly. It might just be you, like, just puking out great information.
All right. And it is puking it out, man. There's a lot of stuff.
Oh, it looks like Mike's already recording us. So hopefully he'll edit this beginning as we're just saying. But I think this is great information for everybody. I do think some of them are vacation this week, which may be great for some of them to show up and may be terrible. So it just share your info, don't and we'll have it nice and recorded so people can look at whenever.
All right. Well, just by the by, there is one interactive activity that you will participate in.
Okay, as long as it's after 3:30. How soon does it come in?
Slide 20.
All right, we'll see. Yeah. I'll do my best to help you out as I double dip here with two great webinars happening at the same time.
Oh, it'll be past that.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Who's doing the other one?
The one for reading, or oh, good, we have some people sneaking
Yay!
in. This is just more of an administrative type one to figure out how to take care of things. That's what.
Oh, okay. Oh.
No, but it's actually really good. We're getting new cool tools that I'm learning about.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Helene.
I still have a closing the gap proposal to submit yet today.
When are they? Is it due today? We got time.
Yep.
Are you there?
We're here.
Oh, good. I might be the only one, huh?
You might be. Is this like spring? Is it vacation weekend?
Yes, it is. It's spring break.
Well, the positive thing is we kind of designed these to always record them.
Yeah.
So that folks can just listen and watch them at any time.
Yeah.
We always give the option for people to come on and join in live, but it'll be great to just have the information to refer back to.
Right. And you know what? Since I was asking for this, just because I'm the reading and the writing specialist, I figured, well, I should sit in on it.
Oh, I'm so glad you could.
Regardless of the vacation.
Kelly's fun.
Well, you never know. You may regret what you asked for. Hopefully not.
Yeah. Well, this has been the only sunny day.
Oh.
I've been on break, but I needed a break anyway. I've been outside all day.
Oh yeah. Come in from the sun.
That's right.
We're getting snow tomorrow in Wisconsin.
Oh, yay.
We're going from 70 degrees to snow.
That's not right, Kelly.
Hey, it happened 2 weeks ago. I know. Welcome to the Midwest.
Yeah, I lived in Missouri for 20 years, but
there you go.
We're a different longitude and latitude. I remember having my air conditioning on in March.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And we could have yesterday. I got out of the workshop yesterday at 3:30 and it was hot. I mean, it was almost 80 here.
Wow.
And then it'll snow. Luckily, it doesn't last long.
Right. I was going to say it'll melt.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Kelly, it's just about 3. I'm
Okay.
going to mute myself and use chat so you don't
All
hear
right.
me chattering in the background.
Do you have anything official that you start these off with?
We do not. We start
Okay.
them on. It's your and you have your stuff ready to share your screen.
I'm going to get ready right here.
Okay.
Share. Up it goes. Oh, why is it not? Oh, there we go. Little delay. Say
All right.
when.
We'll make sure that Mike starts the real recording here and that it's the beginning out. So welcome. We're so lucky to have you, Kelly Fauner, to join us and talk about writing tools for these emerging writers. This is being recorded so that the entire group of teams up in New Hampshire can listen and use this throughout the year and for years to come to help support their efforts to provide the right assistive technology tools for their students. So Kelly, I'm going to turn it over to you. And thank you so much, Kelly, for all of you who were able to join us too.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. I'm really glad when Jen and Mike reached out to me to do this topic because this is one of my loves in assistive technology. When I was a teacher, I loved doing writing with my kids, and we were getting writing to my students in whatever form and modality we could. My original work with assistive tech was with kids with physical challenges and a wide variety of communication and cognitive supports. And I always found that writing was such a concrete thing that we could do, and it helped to build their literacy skills. And of course, we now see how that's supported through research and experience, and some of the exciting things that are added to that for the emergent writers are looking at the supports that are out there. So I always like to start out with this Literacy Bill of Rights that was worked on by a great group of people out of the Literacy and Disability Study Center at UNC Chapel Hill, where they look at that idea and talk to us about constantly about that idea that literacy is the right for everybody to have access to print, and that they need the opportunities constantly to learn to read and write and be engaged actively, not passively, but actively with accessible, clear, meaningful, culturally and linguistically appropriate text at all time. And the picture here, I'll talk about this teacher, Carrie. She's a grade 1-2 regular ed teacher. She has a wide variety of kids within her classroom that are gen ed kids, but she also has a mix of kids with special needs. So she has a child on the spectrum, she has a kid with learning disabilities, she has a girl with physical and communication challenges, and Carrie's just one of those awesome teachers that when you walk into her room, it's a print-rich environment. I've worked on this presentation myself, and then with my colleague Scott Murphilius, who many people know. And Scott has done a lot of work in Florida, and his work in Florida touches with their Northeastern Florida educational project and what's being done in early childhood environments and in K-2 environments with the emergent writers. And so some of the work that you're going to see here in this hour is from the print-rich environments from those places. And so you'll see some of the pictures from that work about creating print-rich environments, having print around, having kids label centers, that it isn't always things that's from a teacher's work. From Carrie's classroom, immediately when you walk into her room, you can tell that this is a room that promotes literacy in all forms. And you see these things like the Wonder Wall, and it changes from month to month about what are they wondering about. Kids have their individual goals. So these aren't necessarily IEP goals because she's got gen ed kids, but they have goals that they've written and they discussed with Carrie, and they have them, and they post things that are measures towards their goals. And you see here on the picture on the right that these are things that the kids have written themselves. It's not always mediated by the teacher. In her writing zone, she has this beautiful little area on the side in the room that has a canopy over top. She'll have a topic for the week or a topic for the month, little pockets that have writing tools in them or places for kids to get writing ideas from one another. She's got a word wall that's always going in, and then she might have a word bank that's got to do with the writing topic that week. And then she has all her bins. And the picture on the right is a picture of all the different writing tool supports, different kinds of markers, crayons, pens, pencils, paper, Unifix cubes, all these things that kids can have at an independent writing center, and they'll come and take them and write. She's got little places designated either back at their tables, or she has writing trays that they can sit on the floor with, and it's a really comfortable place for writing in her room. So what I want to talk about in this hour is what is emergent writing, whether we're talking about early childhood, kindergarten to grade 2, or we're talking about middle school kids or high school kids that are just getting access to writing because nobody had ever thought that they might be a writer or a potential writer. We're going to look at some of the writing assessments that have been developed for this group of kids that are under the skill level of writing a paragraph. And there are now specific measures and curricula that we can follow to gain skills for our students over time. And of course, we're going to be talking about areas of writing and the strategies and tools, because it can't just be about tools. You have to know why you're using those tools. So it'll be a fun, fast hour, give you lots of ideas, hopefully, and also give you a framework to fit in the things that you're already using in the writing area. So this idea of emergent writing is about children, our students, beginning to understand that writing is how we express ourselves, that it's a mark on paper or a mark on electronics paper. So whether it's on a tablet, a Chromebook, an iPad, or it's on a physical piece of paper, no matter how big that paper may be, the wall chart, a little post-it note, that all about that is conveying an idea, that it isn't just about answering questions on a worksheet, but it's about telling people what we think. And we can have it with pictures and images, and have label to that image, and have something that tells a whole meaning. So we look at the different kinds of stages that kids go to. So whether they're kids that can actually hold a writing implement, and the kids that can't, how can we reproduce those kinds of stages that they go through? Because it's so important for kids, all kids, to go through emergent writing. And emergent and writing in itself isn't something that gets started after the reading process. It's things that happen consecutively. And I think too often in the past, people have waited too long for writing to start for kids, because they've had this idea that kids have had to know all their letters, know all the sounds, and have all that stuff kind of stacked in a row, and then we'll work on writing. And not always realizing that the act of writing, whether it's physical act or electronic act is so concrete that it supports the abstract idea of these letters make a sound, and those sounds go together, and together those sounds make a word, and words together make sentences. And that's the real abstract piece of it. And so writing can make reading concrete for people that are struggling. And so that reading and writing relationship really goes back and forth. And then you can add in the communication piece because we're expressing our ideas, the listening piece because we are listening to the thoughts and ideas of others, and we incorporate that when we get into things like editing what it is that we've just written. So we want to make sure that we're not holding back on writing, that we're being very balanced and we're giving daily opportunities to write. And when we talk about daily opportunities, we're not talking about copying, you know, where kids copy their name, copy their address, copy. It is about writing. So even if they're just making marks on a paper, it's that they are expressing their ideas with it. So that I just want to check the chat box to make sure I'm on track here and everybody can hear me. Sometimes it is about finding a picture so that you can anchor your idea with a picture. We're not talking about writing with pictures in that you've got a bunch of pictures and you tap on the pictures and the picture produces a word. We're talking about kids writing with letters, however we can get those letters to them, first learning to scribble, and we're going to go through those stages here, giving them the opportunity to write without conventions, that they don't have to worry about capitalization, spelling from the start. I mean, those things are important. I don't want to say that it's unimportant, but those are stages that children go through, and we need to make sure that our children that are struggling writers go through those stages as well, that if we give them some type of alternative keyboard, that they aren't expected immediately to spell things correctly just because they're starting from a keyboard rather than starting from scribbling with a pen. They might be, or a crayon or whatever it might have been, but they get opportunities to scribble from a keyboard because that is their writing tool of the future. So we want to make sure that we get those ideas expressed. So we look at that progress, and we want to make sure that we're going through those stages of having kids draw what to represent their ideas, looking for scribbling that has that intention to be writing. And so this is when kids are drawing and then they start to tell you, this is the list. This is our shopping list. This is what we're going to do today. This is a horse. You know, they start to describe whatever it is that they've drawn. And so we start to be challenged in when kids can't physically do that with a crayon or a marker, how are we going to go through this progress? So I have a couple videos. We'll see how they run here. Some are on YouTube, some are coming right off my computer, but we'll give it a try. We have Scott Marfilis and I have a colleague, Donna McNair, who works with children who have vision impairments, and some of her children are also dually sensory impaired. This is a video of one of her students from when he was a year old, and she wanted to give him access to the writing tools of his future. So this is a little 1-year-old who is blind, and this is the Mountbatten Brailler. So it's an electronic brailler, and she just wanted to be able to give him some time to tap away without, he doesn't know Braille yet. He's getting access to Braille materials. But how does this get produced? Oh, here we go. I think I'm going to stop share and then share the video from another source. We're going to give this one option and then we will move forward. Sorry about that, Jen. It was working as everything else usually does.
Saying the tech prayer for you.
Yeah, well, the link's in there. The problem is I think trying to get it to play.
Ooh, open the hyperlink, edit the hyperlink. Maybe you can grab it directly.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do.
All right, right click on it maybe.
All right. One more time. Let's see, it keeps telling me that the address is invalid. Videos.
It's okay. Maybe if you find the address, we can add it up as a link.
Yeah, I think what we'll do is do a stack of the videos and people can watch them.
That sounds great.
It's a sweet little video.
Well, the picture gave a nice image of, what, you can scribble with all different types of tools.
Yes. And so in the video, oh yeah, I'm not going to struggle with this anymore. In the video, Ethan and his mom and his older brother are, now I need to know what you are and aren't seeing.
I'm not seeing the video.
Are you seeing the picture?
No.
All right.
We can't see your PowerPoint anymore.
Okay, let me go back to Zoom, full screen, share picture. There we go. Are you up?
There you go.
Yep.
Okay, so he touches the keys that produces Braille. Like you see here in the picture, his little hands start to travel up from the keys to touching the Braille. And he has one hand that goes back to the keys while the other hand stays up on the Braille. And he's tapping and feeling the Braille reproduced at the same time. So it's kind of this real action where he has this cause and effect moment of tapping, feeling it produced. It actually scares him the first time it happens. He gets a little upset and his mom and brother calm him down. But it's this idea of scribbling, and they're not asking him to write anything in particular. First of all, he's only 1 year old.
I was going to say, I wanted to know how old he was.
He's 1. Yeah, he's only 12 months old. And so, but other kids who are 12 months sometimes are grabbing crayons and coloring, and just kind of scribbling around. And that's what Donna wanted to reproduce for him. When we look at how things progress from there, we start to see in kids' drawings letter-like forms, things that start to look like letters. And whether a kid is drawing or they're using a keyboard, we start to look for letter strings. So things where kids are starting to print out real words. So you might see in a letter string the formation of a word or things that sound like words. A child might be starting to tell you a story that goes along with the picture. Sometimes we'll call this drawing, where half the picture is a draw and the other half the picture is a writing. And so this not a stage. I was just with some of my teams in Canada last week, and we were doing some activities where the teacher modeled writing, and then the kids chose their own topics to write with. And this was produced by a dictation method called alternative pencils. And so we had a girl that had a communication book. She has a set of the alphabet in her communication book. And as she pointed to the letters, the person beside her was writing those letters down. She had said that her topic was about bikes, and that she had said that with her communication system. And then they went to the alphabet, and she started to produce this letter string. And she even did a period when she told us that she was done. So she's got some concepts. We're not really finding any real words in her work yet, but she has the idea that you have, what you want to write about, and then letters go with that. And so that's a big progress in her writing, because she didn't even used to relate paper to the process of writing. So that's really exciting for her team. And then we look for what are the things that we do to support and moving kids' letter strings forward into using spaces, using invented spelling, and using conventional spelling. One of the exciting things that's available to us are some of the writing assessments that are out now for the Emergent crew. And this is kids of all ages that we're using this particular tool with, which is the First Author curriculum and assessment measures. First Author was developed by Dr. Janet Sturm, who's out of Central Michigan University, and there are webinars of Janet doing this on a variety of places where you can get webinars, like ATIA, EnableNet, Don Johnston that produces this product for them. And the curriculum supports you as you move through it. So one of the assessments, there are 5 different assessments that are a part of this curriculum, is called the Developmental Writing Scale, or the DWS, like you need another set of initials in your life. But here you see it goes from drawing to scribbling and letter strings and letters with spaces, and these real little steps in kids' writing. It maxes out at the 3 cohesive paragraphs, which in many states is kind of end of 2nd grade, beginning 3rd grade writing measures. And so just to give you a feel for it, there is like level 1 is just, either picking a picture electronically or drawing a picture that represents an idea that you want to share. When you get to the scribbling level in the DWS, you're starting to take those draw pictures and adding things that start to look like letters. They might not really be letter strings yet because there's too much other stuff around it that's still part of the scribble, but you can start to see some loops, you can start to see some straight lines, things that are recognizable, but the whole document might not be recognizable as letters. Once you start to get into the whole document having things that are letter strings, that bumps you up to the letter string level 3. You still might have the writing effect where you have a draw and the writing, especially if you have special paper like this that promotes it, where you have the space at the top to draw and then the place to write. And then we just continue to move forward. And then I'm just going to walk you through these levels, and then we're going to look at a kid's writing and try this out. So level 4 is the letters with spaces. And they have up on the Don Johnston website, Janet's research behind this. There are videos of kids, other trainings that are available that lay this out more, because I'm rolling through this pretty quickly, so that we can get to some other tools and strategies to support these levels. When you start seeing intelligible words, even if there isn't a space on either side of that word, that moves them up to the level 5 in the DWS. When they start making spaces around words and the list can be vertical or horizontal, then we look at them at being at the level 6. When they start making that list of words that has a relationship, so that all the words can go together underneath the same category, so that they're starting to pull their ideas together rather than a random list of just words, then you go up another level. Words that start to go into a sentence, and sometimes the sentences might change topic from sentence to sentence, but the words within a sentence go together. Moving things up to the next level, have those apparent parts of a sentence where you have a subject verb and those pieces together. And then it starts to go, everything else as you move up the developmental writing scale has to do with coherence. So whether you have paragraph markers where the paragraphs are related or unrelated, how many sentences are in those paragraphs, those are the things that start to move you through the levels 10 through 14. And as I mentioned before, it tops out here at level 14, where things are coherent, 3 paragraphs, multiple sentences, topics for the story. So you're basically writing a 3-paragraph essay at the top of this scale. But to go from that scribble draw up to here, there are supporting lessons and other writing assessments. So if you want to try this out, here is a work on the left from a child. So where, and don't be thrown by this little mark that's next to the draw, but where would you find this piece of writing on the developmental writing scale? We can have you either do the chat box or go ahead and talk.
Okay. I'd say it's between what, drawing and scribbling.
There were people that just did this with Scott and I 2 weeks ago, and people found individual letters, so they were going up to the scribble. We did have somebody say that they thought it was letter strings because they were looking at it from a different angle. And like kind of over here on the right hand side, she felt that that was a letter string, but the majority of people looked at it as a scribble because you could find some loops, something that looked like a J, something that looked like a C, an E, an O, and we marked it mostly as a scribble. One of the things that's really important on the DWS is that you get multiple reviewers, so that if you have more than one person in your classroom look at the child's work, so that you can have that comparative score. And if you're the only scorer, it is about consistency. So let's look at another one. And their name doesn't count. Like if they do their name well, you have to look at their writing.
Yeah, so.
Can we read it together?
Yeah.
I like to
Bite my.
Or look at his picture. So he is fishing. So I like to
Bait.
bait my
My hook.
hook.
Worm and with a minnow, and that is not
All
you can.
and I think it's bait on a lure. So I think he's missed a word or two. But he's got this nice little paragraph together. So where do we think this is?
1 to 2 sentences.
Yeah. And
Number
in the DWS, up until you want to start scoring them at level 12 through 13, having a period doesn't really count. It doesn't matter. It's really about forming your ideas.
Mm-hmm. So what age group?
So it's really not about age. I've got high school teams that are 10th, 11th, 12th resource that are using this with Emergent Writers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's any kid's level. So yeah, one of the trainers that's doing this worked with middle school students, and she used this with all of her middle school kids. And so, yeah, so here we can have, as you were mentioned, 1 to 2 sentences. If we look, so I like to bait my hook with a worm, and he's got that, nice conjunction with the minnow, and like he's learned to use the and. So you've got 2 sentences in there for sure.
Well, I'm just thinking of I work in middle school and high school, and I have kids that are probably working down between 12 and 14.
Mm-hmm.
That they really and I have to say they really struggle to write.
Yeah.
Let alone
one of the nice things about this first author assessment, it has a curriculum that goes along with it. So once you get with these measures, because it's more than just the developmental writing scale, it also looks at what kinds of topics they pick, what's their self-attitude about being a writer. It looks at their behaviors during the writing process. There's also if you have kids that are all together, they also read their writing to each other or have somebody else read it if they don't want to read it. And we look at how they question each other or comment on each other's work. So it really brings them together as a group of authors. And it boosts them forward from maybe being somebody who didn't think that they were much of a writer before into looking at themselves being more of a writer. Some of the other things that are out there, people are familiar with some of the handwriting supports like Handwriting Without Tears, the Handwriting Helpers curriculum, the All Right software, and some others that actually help with letter formation of varying degrees. Another writing protocol that's out there that looks at do you continue to work on handwriting or do you start to go towards some of the electronic supports is Dr. Denise DeCoste writing protocol. This is one that's been around for a while, but Denise did a big upgrade to it about 5 years ago. So you do, you have the kids handwrite the alphabet if they can, both uppercase, lowercase. They do a copy from the book from somebody dictating to them. You analyze something that they've written. Same thing, keyboarding. They keyboard the uppercase and lowercase alphabet. They keyboard something that's dictated to them. They keyboard something that is copied. And then you find things that they've worked before from keyboarding. There's a developmental spelling assessment that you run over the work that they have done. And then she provides kind of a written analysis of how you go through looking at all of these things and make some decisions. There's a good guide on how to decide whether they would benefit from word prediction, word banks, other kinds of writing tools and supports. And a lot of people like that writing protocol, especially with the updates to it and the background knowledge that she's added to it.
I know.
And of course, go ahead.
At our last meeting, we were exposed to the writing protocol. And when Jennifer has a minute, I have to ask her about that. I don't know. Oh, okay. I don't know if we got the whole book or just a few pages when we were there.
Each group, like kind of, Mike is working on getting the digital files from Don Johnston, and I'll check with him because once he has them, because we purchased a copy for each group. What we gave each group was a paper version. We gave you all of the addendums. We were able to print out all of the addendum and things you need to actually conduct an evaluation.
Okay, but there was only one per table.
Right.
Okay.
One per group.
Okay, and I think I had picked that up. So I had taken that out the other day, and the other people said, "Oh, I didn't get that," and I said, "Oh, I thought everybody got that."
It's a very thick packet.
Yeah.
But I would check with Mike because we did purchase. We did purchase this for each team. So we purchased 7 copies of it.
Okay, and then.
So I'll check with Mike and make sure the digital copy will get put into your team's folder on our Google site.
Okay.
So I will check. I'll put a little note. I'll check with him right after this.
Okay, thank you.
I'm so glad
Very
you're going to look at it. I find it really helpful.
Yeah. I mean, that first third of the book is all the background knowledge. The second third is the assessment pieces. And then the third part is the analysis. So it really breaks down well.
I think that this is a good opportunity to have some PD with our case managers, especially, well, like I said, I work middle and high school, and I think the case managers need to be exposed to this because they really need to know where their students are operating.
Yeah.
Because they do give them a lot of supports. And when we sit at meetings, you know, a lot of times it doesn't come out that they're being supported or they're with assistance. And I think sometimes parents think that, oh, they're doing this all on their own.
Right. And the intention of the writing protocol is to figure out if they will benefit from which type of support.
Yep. And we've tried to use the writing, the Google writing, the voice type of thing.
Yeah, dictation is part of it.
Yep.
So voice recognition,
Mm-hmm.
making determinations of that.
Right.
You can do the keyboarding profile assessment in whichever way. You know, if you want to try several different electronic ways and do a comparison of those, I've had people use it that way.
One of the things I shared in the group folder for this too is kind of the template I use as an AT evaluator, where I've put all the different scenarios within a table. You are welcome to use it. I've shared. So if that's helpful for your assessment, so I put in, you know, all the different scenarios, handwriting and typing, and there's boxes to put the response to use, you know, to using things like co-writer with any of the co-writer or voice recognition with any of the scenarios. You can create your own notes within the table if that will help.
Okay.
That's great. And I think really the important thing is that people are using assessments and they're not guessing.
Exactly.
A lot of people are familiar with the Wisconsin Assistive Technology Initiative. They've done a big update to all of their checklists and all of their assessment supports as well. And so that's at wadi.org and all the different areas. As far as writing goes, you're helped by the computer access area, the writing for motor aspects support, and the writing for composition. So those 3 areas really impact, and even the AT for math, because of course we write while we're doing math. So those assessment guides can be very supportive with this piece.
Okay.
Because we know that with writing for cognition, kids are impacted. It's not just about the physical act, but your language production, memory issues about how things go together, like letters and writing, generating ideas, being cohesive. All of those are components that impact the quality of students' writing and how writing progresses through the years. Just some other tips here before we go into types of writing and give you some more tool tips is that we should be, especially with emergent writers, accepting all of their writing, giving them opportunities to read what they've written. One of the things I've learned from Dr. Sturm is that when we are taking notes or when we're editing children's writing, to not write on top of their written work. That if we're going to make notes, that we should put it on a Post-it and put that on the back and not try to write under or over their actual handwriting. And I've experienced this with some of my teams as I've been coaching teams with that first author curriculum, in when the teacher has actually written underneath a child's writing, we've had kids go back and erase what they've written because it doesn't look as nice as what the teacher has done. And therefore they take this like personal hit on what they've written, or not what they've written, how they've written it. So we really try and make those kinds of comments and corrections on the back. So we want to accept all writing. When we look at types of writing, I'm going to go through different types of emergent writing and some of the support. So we're going to look at modeled writing, shared writing, dictation, and all the different ways that that can happen with scribes, and independent writing. We're going to run out of time here, so as always happens, but you'll have the handout with some other things.
Okay.
When we looked at model writing, it's what we looked at with Carrie in the very beginning, in that she starts her group by modeling what it is that she's trying to have them do, that particular day. We might call it writer's coach approach. We might call it think alouds. It might depend upon what your curriculum calls it. But in the large or a semi-large group, the teacher talks out loud what their idea is, what they might be modeling, if it's or modeling a certain convention of writing, and then the kids go back. They might go back. There's a nice video to watch on this from a kindergarten teacher. We've got the YouTube connection here for you, so you can go and watch her lesson and how she integrates her word wall, core writing words, how she works with sentences that the kids have known from the past. She does predictable sentence writing, which is a really common strategy to use with emergent writers. So that idea that all the sentence structure will look the same and only one word will swap out. So this is a really nice interactive lesson. The kids all have whiteboards in their laps, so they're writing at the same time that she is. And then she'll have different children come up and take a turn throughout that writing activity. As kids go back to their seats from this group writing activity, the things that we always want to look at: how well do they fit into their desks? And do they have visual access supports? Are there distractions that we have to work on from where they particular are? Some kids need to have a defined area that they might need either a visual or a tactual zone that they stay within. All the different kinds of writing helpers that might be helpful for them, whether it's just the reminders about letter formation. It might be a close-up word wall for them, or a word bank. There might be what kind of adaptive paper or a template to put on top of paper. Too often kids are given just a blank piece of paper, and that for them may be a blank mind, or It's just going to guarantee that they can't put all the things that they want to write within that piece of paper. Sometimes when it's a great big piece of blank paper, it's too intimidating. I have a teacher that cuts paper into strips, and so they only have to put one sentence, and then if they have another idea, they come and get another piece of that strip of paper and they tape it to the first one, and then they put their next sentence to it. So then they might end up with a big chain of paper, but they weren't intimidated by the big, long, white piece of paper to start with. Other kids might need other kinds of visual or tactile boundaries as they write. We know that by the time we get to this time in the school year, our resources might be low for buying things like raised line paper, so you might need to make your own. By puffy paid, or the wiki sticks, or rolling over it with a fabric wheel so that the other side is raised up, or even using things like a highlighter pen to highlight every other row so a kid has some space if they need that visual support. Having paper, anchored for kids on clipboards and binders and non-skid surfaces underneath can be helpful for stabilization. Giving kids electronic ways of writing stories and reading stories from others. You may have been introduced to the Tar Heel Reader site out of UNC Chapel Hill, where there's thousands of stories now there in multiple languages as well. You can also author your stories at that site. They can pick a picture, write a word, write a sentence. You can mark for to be seen by other people, or it can just stay within their own. Other things that people write stories with, Clicker is fabulous for this, whether you're doing it within Clicker 7, the software, or getting a product like Clicker Books as an app. They've modularized a lot of those things, and so that you can pick a picture, and right off to the side in Clicker Books, it makes it really easy. One button gets you to the pictures. One button puts text on the screen. Another button gets you to record what you want to have. And so the sound clips that come in can match up with your pictures, can match up with whatever text that you want to put, if you want to have another kind of image, and then you just click to go to the next page. This works out really nicely too if you want to have kids work together. Do I need to take a pause and click on the chat? Oh yeah.
Is that Dawn Johnson as well, Clicker?
This is Crick. This is Crick software.
Crick software.
Yeah, these are some of my favorite writing tools.
Yes.
And now
we've got a connection to their other apps later in a couple more slides.
Right.
Also, too, I'm a big fan of people using what you already have. Yeah. So Scott and I just kind of put together this big list of what are all the things that people make books with. So whether or not you're somebody that's got Boardmaker Studio or Boardmaker Align, or you've got, the app Pictello, people are making electronic books with 30 hands, whatever kind of thing that you have. It might not be that you've got to go and get something new. You might be able to make an electronic book with a product that's already around, that you might already have a site license for, something that is downloadable, something that already has been in your toolbox. So use that. And the nice thing too is print them out. Go ahead, Jen.
Even if it's PowerPoint, something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Since I don't work at the elementary, I'm not sure what they use for writing tools there. And I'm not sure, because I'm not in all the classrooms at the middle school, I'm not sure what they're using either. I know when I used to be a 6th grade case manager, I used to use Tar Heel Reader quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Also, some of these tools may have to do with ability and function, and kind of age doesn't matter so much.
Mhm.
Exactly. That's the nice part about writing your own book. It isn't about grade level. It isn't about age, because if a child authors their own book, it is going to be age appropriate for them because it's their book.
Right, right.
And then we print it out, and if it's a book that if the student wrote, then hopefully they'll be able to read it, and that it reinforces their independent reading level.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
With supports for electronics, just a reminder that some of those assistive technology tools that you might have used in the past with, big desktop computers do work with Chromebooks and iPads and laptops. So if you have kids that can't use those built-in on-screen keyboards to those things, you can plug in some of these large keyboards right into them. You might need an adapter, but you can use those. If they do need an alternative to the regular on-screen keyboard that's on an iPad, there are the third-party keyboards, that'll add voice, that'll add larger keys that might, as you hit them in super keys, it will expand to a larger size. So those kinds of things help kids with their keyboarding so that they can type directly into apps, that they aren't just a self-contained app. They actually replace the keyboard that comes with the tablet. So those are things to look at. And if they need to use, some alternative to their finger, they need to use a different kind of mouse or a touch tablet or a joystick. I can't think what I'm talking about. You start using the built-in eye gaze that's available now in some of the systems, and how they're using, eye recognition. It's getting very exciting on the tablets, and people are getting very creative about how we can get access to people who really struggled with access to some of the mobile devices before. Shared writing is another great strategy for emergent writing, so that they can compose together with a peer buddy, that they can compose together, whether they started the project in a small group and then pair off with somebody to finish it. I've had children as young as 3 years old work on brain maps, so that they have an idea, they start talking about it, the teacher makes a web, and then the kids start using stickers or other things to produce a writing map. And that works out really nicely to get them involved with writing. And with that, we see group activities where teachers are modeling things like letters, and letters become words, and words become sentences. And as a group, they start to produce sentences. And then kids, again, can pair off and go and reproduce the activity that they just did on the floor with the teacher. And this might be, a picture from a kindergarten classroom. This is actually a K4-year-old classroom. But, this can be reproduced for kids who are emergent writers at different ages, and just kind of different stages. I'm a big fan of apps that are in that Glow Draw series, because you could, especially if you've got kids with some vision issues, and it really projects up on the iPads and the Android tablets. They also have the Glow Note products that run off of any internet connection, so that as you're drawing, and then you can add stickers to them, you can add text. Chili Paint's another good one, because you can do both draw, and you can do that scribble, draw, get to your first word. And then anything that's kind of multi-user products, which is not spelled right on the screen, by using things like Google Docs and Webspiration, so you can have multiple people working on the same thing. That works out really nicely for shared writing activities. And dictation, you know, David Copenhaver talks about how dictation is the most overused access to writing in special ed. But we have to look at how we do it. Are the people that are acting as scribes writing down exactly what kids say? Are they over prompting? You know, are they really being observant, or are they taking over? And I think those are the things that are so important to watch when we have somebody scribing for kids. You know, when I was a high school resource teacher, we had a recorder running at the same time when people were dictating, especially if it was during a test. But when kids are producing, I think it's important for, there to be a record. So you can run a video at the same time that somebody is writing. You can use things like alternative pencils. So now it isn't just about, is somebody really writing it down? There's actually a record. Somebody chose this from their communication book, or they eye gazed to this letter, and now I'm going to write it down. And the rules have to be that you don't add anything that a child doesn't select. You'll see some examples from the UNC website and from Project Core's website about alternative pencils. You'll see the research from Dr. Gretchen Hanser and how she worked with 13 and 14-year-olds to get them writing using a variety of alternative pencils when they had never written before and they were just starting to get phonic instruction. And the alternative pencils used to be something that we purchased. They're now a free download, and I've given you the links here to those. There's also a video. You'll see a student using one of the alternative pencils during a writing activity at camp. Just some other examples with eye gaze and flip charts is how you're using them, how you promote them. It has to be open-ended. This idea of the free, F-R-E-E, writing time. Even if it is just 5 minutes every day that a child gets to start to scribble with these, and then you'll start to see and hopefully see over time that those scribbles go through the stages that we talked about in the very beginning. As you comment, as you model to them your writing using those kind of writing coach approaches, and they will start to see as you go through, and however you might be using a flip chart with them to get access to letters. Also make sure they always have things like adding spaces, adding endings, giving the ability to correct what you've just written down, turning pages, starting new ideas. These are all things to add into these alternative pencils. So I'm going to do a little check-in here. I'm going to skip a video. We have already mentioned about voice typing, so taking advantage of things of voice recognition, so things that are built in to Google and other products that you can use where kids can do an idea dump if they have the ability to speak, but always remembering that there's this constant cycle that happens with voice recognition, that they have to think about what they want to write, they're composing it, they speak it out, it needs to be read. So whether they're reading it silently to themselves or they're using an electronic means of reading it back, they've got to check it and edit it. And sometimes the checking and editing isn't always done by voice. It might be done by a different way. This is an idea that we've developed by talking to other people and seeing how they're doing it when they use scribes, is to develop a coding system for how a child's work has been produced so that the teacher that it's being turned into knows. So for example, if they have some words that are being written that are produced by their communication system, if they have some words that are being produced because they were spoken to the scribe, if they have some words that they spelled within their writing app. So have some kind of a code that it either is underlined, bolded, done in another color. If they're doing shared writing, maybe suggestions that came in from a partner are put in parentheses. And that way the receiving teacher knows whose work was who, how things were produced, if it was produced letter by letter or from a word bank. Then in a document with the codes that you do, a child's work and its production will become more clear. And it also will help for future instruction and knowledge about what they're doing, what they need to have support on. So hopefully that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Lastly, here, as we've run out of time, you'll see some screens about independent writing time and just some supports, some that we've already talked about, things to have in your writing center, kind of like a checklist of things for the writing center. If you have to deal with worksheets, being able to mark worksheets with different things like labels and stamps, giving kids other opportunities to write with magnets and the letter stickers and cards. Jen mentioned about the clicker apps, giving kids models, being able to have word banks to be able to put into your writing, being able to have that modeled writing time, having word prediction, and other kind of word banks, being able to speak and use word prediction. Those two things are supports that come from products like Co-Writer. And if you are using other types of writing tools like switches with scanning, being able to scan the different writing grids, our support for things like with Grid from Smartbox and some other tools. So Jen, I know I need to wrap it up. It's always so hard to do. We like that Scott and I use the product of the Go worksheet. If we had to deal with taking pictures of worksheets and have kids use a variety of ways of writing and talking answers on top of it. And you'll see some other really cool ideas from the Eastern Florida group about how to incorporate writing into play centers. All these things about writing during dramatic play, during recess, and other kind of free writing experiences. So I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks so much for your additions. We always want to celebrate the writing that we do. So I'm going to end on that note and let Jen wrap it up.
Colleen, go ahead. You want to?
I think that there's a whole lot that can be done with this, and 1 hour is not enough.
So, writing for me is a 3-day workshop.
Is it really?
I mean, the hope is this will stimulate some ideas. So we'll be working on with a little bit of a rolled out plan for summer homework for each team to make sure that at least somebody on the team views each one of these and kind of shares kind of key ideas for each of these webinars to make sure the information is getting out to everyone. Because there's so many rich strategies and resources and tool resources in here. We'll make sure that this recording is shared widely with these New Hampshire teams.
Well, and I'm going to have to go back and look at some of the slides, and I want to, are we able to click on the links on the slides, or we have to copy and paste them into another window?
I think you're going to have to copy and paste them
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
to
Just
watch the videos.
Yeah, because it's just
well, and just to look at some of the apps that you had mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
There are lists of things that that I'm not familiar with, and probably that we could be using. There's one that you mentioned, something about worksheets. It was a few slides back. That we would
Google
copy worksheets for the kids.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, with the Go
What?
worksheet from Attainment.
a great
Right
tool.
here. Oh,
Yeah, that's Attainment Company.
attainment.
So this is great. So as folks watch these videos, we'll get some ideas and be pulling people further about specific tools that we want to make tool time videos for, or that we want to explicitly look at in the 3 days that we have coming up next year.
Oh, excellent.
More and more focus on tools as folks have developed kind of their quiet plans and their processes within their districts. And then, okay, each day we've given little tastes of tools and links to explore. So I'll add Go Worksheet to the list as you're voting for it, Helene.
Well, and we had talked about at our last meeting, our meeting, that we really need to have a playtime. This particular presentation would allow us to have some playtime for not only the assessments, but the writing tools as well. And I think that, this could be used across K-12, depending on the students that we're working with.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So I thank you so much. I'm sorry that you didn't have a larger audience.
We're good.
We should probably not tell people that we record these. That you have to be there to learn this information. It's okay. We'll have it recorded, and we will be, like I said, we'll be strategizing to make sure everyone gets this information.
Okay.
And it'll be posted to the website within the next week, as soon as Nick returns from wherever he is in Michigan.
The other tool that's represented on this slide is PDF Filler.
PDF filler.
It's great.
And the other one is Go Attainment.
It's Go Worksheet. The company is Attainment.
I see. Go Worksheet.
Mhm.
Okay. And it's Attainment. Okay. All right.
Very good.
Well, thank you so much.
You got it. Thank you.
And I'm wishing that you don't get snow.
Thank you for being such a great, uninterested audience. The other words, reply all to the last email and say, you guys missed that great.
Yeah, you're going to get the Clapper Award.
I am keeping a running list of everyone who attends the webinars for different prizes.
We have our meeting on Tuesday, and I'm going to tell everybody, oh, you missed a really good one.
Well,
Hey, there you go.
The expectation is that everybody watches all of these webinars.
That's it. See, now you're going to get all my little toy awards.
Okay.
Oh, minion.
But he's still singing.
This is great.
Well, it sounds good.
This is what I do when I do webinars by myself. I just grab things and start to play.
That's okay.
All right. Well, Helene,
All right.
thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, take care.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Okay. Peace out.